Welcome to Dads and Dollars podcast with your host, Stanley Funches, certified financial planner, business owner, author, speaker, and father of three. Listen as Stanley shares his valuable insights around fatherhood and finances gained from over 20 plus years of experience. You'll hear stories, lessons learned, and the ups and downs he and his guests have encountered on their journeys as fathers, professionals, and business owners. These shared lessons will help provide you a path for financial independence while celebrating the challenges of being a dad. Thank you for joining the conversation. Here's your host, Stanley Funches.
Good day. Welcome to Dads and Dollars, the podcast where fatherhood and finances are woven into many life topics. My name is Stanley Funches. I am a certified financial planner by profession and a father of three in this thing called life. We are glad you could join us for season 1, episode 18. In this episode, we're going to talk about a little love and money with our first guests who are a married couple. So go get your significant other and let's listen to this one together. All right, everyone. We want to welcome to the show today, Kenneth and Leesha Cox. So welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Look, I know I gave y'all welcome like we were at church, welcome, but that in the spiritual family mode is what we want to be in today. So I appreciate you guys so much for joining the show. So one of the things that I thought about when the show was conceived, like, hey, I wanted to have someone as a married couple to join the show that I know are dealing with all the challenges of family, love, life, and all those great things, careers, and so we can just talk and share with the audience, because even though this is Dads and Dollars, right? This is just from a dad perspective, but it's really about life and family. And so Leesha, just thank you for joining us. You're the first mom on Dads and Dollars. So we want to welcome you. That's our first. You guys are also the first couple as well.
Oh.
All right. So Leesha, you're the psychiatrist, the speaker, the psychiatrist who helping moms throughout, and the mom supreme. And Kenneth, you're the track star in college, current coach, AD, civic leader, and just one of the super dads that we all aspire to be. So again, I think from you guys blessing us today with your presence is great. So I'll just let you start off, and Leesha, if you want to say a few things about yourself, and we'll go from there.
So Stanley, thank you. I feel like extra special honored to be the first woman on Dollars. That's pretty amazing. And then we're the first couple, so go Coxes, right?
Yes.
It's an honor to be here on this podcast, and just we have come to know and love you, Stanley, over the time we've worked together, even
Absolutely.
though you are a bit of a dream killer sometimes when you're trying to put our finances together. I'm originally from North Carolina, been in Alabama since 2009. I always say Kenneth drugged me here kicking and screaming because I wasn't trying to come to Alabama, but it has been a tremendous blessing for us, our marriage, our family, professionally, all the things. And so it's been quite the journey. And we've been married 20 years. Yep. It was 20 years in October, which
20 years.
I look old enough to be married 20 years. But yes, it's been 20 years nonetheless. So
you guys got married in elementary, not elementary school, but junior high, because that's how it happened.
All right. And then so as you said, we've been here. Actually, this year is my 15th year here. I guess being a part of Birmingham Southern College, and it's been great. It's been a great process to grow, to learn, and as she said before, man, working with you and just kind of growing with you. I mean, I even think about our conversations have changed so much in a positive way because of the seeds that you sown, you sowed in us and our marriage, but then also how we can practically start thinking about things in terms of our future. And so, as we now have a soon to be senior in high school. I mean, she's in the 10th grade, and obviously we understand that'll happen before we know it. But we have someone in high school, in middle school, and elementary school. We start thinking about what our future looks like, and really the kind of life that we can continue to live as parents, but really and truthfully as a couple. And that's exciting, because we still have a lot of things that we want to accomplish, things that we feel very passionate about together collectively. And so for us, having a relationship with you, but then also, strengthening our relationship really is a part of that continued journey that we're excited to see unfold. So
yeah. Oh, hey man, look, teamwork makes the dream work, right? And so I see that in you guys all the time. So, all right, so this is right after Valentine's Day. All right, so we're gonna start talking about a little love story here. So tell us how you guys met. So I know y'all got some good stories there about how y'all met.
Yeah, so we're both from North Carolina, and go Tar Heels, right? Because
That's right.
Tar Heel born, Tar Heel bred. That's what. And so Kenneth is a little bit younger, but I did not rob the cradle. Okay, that's not the story. But anyway, so we were both at UNC Chapel Hill for undergrad, and I was a young filly, and I caught his eye. But we were both really kind of dating other people at the time, so nothing ever materialized when we were in undergrad. We both had our long-term relationships, and then I was in medical school at UNC, and we happened to run into each other at Bahama Breeze in Raleigh. He was living in Charlotte at the time, and he and his some of his line brothers were at Bahama Breeze, and y'all were getting ready to leave, right?
Yeah, we were heading. Matter of fact, we were taking a road trip to Atlanta, and so it was going to be a guys' weekend, and just kind of kicking it. And we went to dinner at Bahama Breeze, and we were leaving the restaurant, and in the parking lot, I saw
because we were coming in.
I saw Leesha, and I saw her sister, and man, it was one of those like, hey man, I might as well shoot a shot, man. Like, I saw her all the time on campus. I mean, she beautiful, but she was always kind of like focused, you know what I'm saying? And I think that's one of the things that kind of, drew me to her. But I reintroduced myself because her sister and my brother, both are younger siblings. Yeah. They knew of each other, and they were in a high school program together. Mm-hmm. So when I would go and support my brother, she would go support her sister. I would see her, at some of the events, and just kind of just familiar face. So anyway, we're in a parking lot, and I'm just, like I said, man, I'm shooting my shot, man. So I just introduced myself, and just said, hey, I like to, kick it, like to, go out, and
I gave my real phone number.
Yeah, she gave me
real phone number, all right.
Like, fake number.
Yep. Gave me the real phone number, and I called. I called, and it was one of those things, man. We were very, very upfront with each other. And when a relationship, man, we just
chilling.
Yeah, I mean, like she was focused on medical school. I was working for Nokia at the time, and that's pretty much kind of how it was.
But then, so I was like, okay, this dude's he's all right. So, when you're in medical school, you can do rotations. So you have, like, this was what, I think my third year of medical school. Mm-hmm. And so like you do rotations in internal medicine, pediatrics, OB-GYN, the other specialties. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to do something in Charlotte because that's where he was living. So I was like, let me schedule a rotation in Charlotte. And so I scheduled my OB-GYN rotation in Charlotte. So we ended up spending a lot of time together then.
Yeah.
And that's when he fell madly in love.
That's right.
But he is it. This is it. And then that's the rest was history.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I think, the beauty of it was, we certainly went into the relationship with open minds. I've haven't had previous relationships that I guess I thought at the time, was pretty serious and through undergrad. But having someone that was career focused and also, like I said, in school and just kind of focused on, her degree and knowing what she wanted to do ultimately. It's funny. I mean, she knew she was like in elementary school. She wanted to be a doctor. But that was what I needed, because I was trying to figure things out and, and just trying to, find my way. And so, it was, and I oftentimes say this too, the relationships that I had, in undergrad, just about all of them, they were majoring in psychology. And, and they end up marrying a psychiatrist. So the guy knew what I did. But yeah, and I think it just made the process of us learning and growing and coming together. Like I said, it made it such an incredible experience, man. That because I didn't think that I wasn't looking for marriage. I wasn't looking for a serious relationship.
Neither one of us were. Yeah.
Yeah, but it just kind of
just kind of unfolded like that
organically, man. It was amazing. So
good. Look,
yeah,
it sounds like because of that you guys kept running into each other. God kept saying, "Hey, here you go. Here's your mate. Here's your mate." And y'all like, "Nah, we good. We good."
Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
And thank goodness you stopped at Bahama Breeze and that cross section happened at that time. Because just think,
Absolutely.
I mean, but you guys would have seen each other again, and it would have eventually happened, right? It's meant to be.
Yeah, it was meant to be.
And so I know Leesha put that on you that you fell madly in love, but if she's getting her rotation in Charlotte, she was already kind of like,
Nobody asked you. I was trying to have a rich medical experience around the state.
Yeah.
That's
Yep. So that's beautiful, man. So again, we know that marriage has all its challenges and everything, but so the joy, so you've been married 20 years now. Let's just talk about the joys of marriage and family. So what are some of those things you say, hey, look, I wouldn't trade this for the world, especially from a dad's perspective?
Yeah. So what I would say is, we talk about, growing up and different things like that. We talk about, having a ride or die, and as Black men, man, there's enough stuff that goes on that we just get, I mean, we get beat up about, man, just things in society. But to have someone who truly has my back, I mean, man, it's like no other. Because, there are days that I can feel on top of the world. There are days when I feel, like nothing I do, what I'm saying, like it's going well. And I mean that like throughout our relationship.
Yeah.
But to have someone who knows who I am, that knows my heart, and that can speak to it, and is willing to go to bat, for me every single day, it is truly a blessing. And even now, man, like I mean, we're in our mid 40s, to still continue to grow and to be able to have conversations about, what do you think about this, or this is on my heart, and to have her really and truthfully say, you can do this, or you deserve better. That to me means the world. And so, whatever it is that I aspire to do, and looking forward to kind of, go after. God has truly placed someone in my life that believes in me, that sees me. Oftentimes, better than I see myself, and I know that it's not, I know that it's not fake, that we've seen each other through,
Good
BC,
and
as we
bad.
say, before children.
Yeah.
And then, growing now. So, but yeah, it's been good, man. I can imagine, I can imagine, raising our children, any other way. My parents, man, have been married for 46 years, and still living. Our parents,
Same.
for the same. And so having that example, is certainly has helped, because they went through it and they're continuing to go through it. But yeah, it's been truly, it's just been great. It really has. So
I think for me, it is, I'm just on a practical level glad not to have to be out in the streets trying to meet some old raggedy.
Yeah, it's cold out in these streets. Yeah, it's cold out in these streets. Yeah, you
Getting
won't be
some
out in these
card
streets.
game. Like I'm just not interested in that. And I think, what's beautiful, kind of what Kenneth was already alluding to, is like the ability to grow and make a life together. And for us to have to be able to witness our individual growth, but our growth as a couple, and the product of our love, which is our children, and to be able to raise them together, and to be intentional about the kind of life that we want to show them and have them experience, and the love that they get to witness, that we share for one another. And just like, sometimes we have laughed so hard, like my cheeks hurt sore, and like be able to be like my true, authentic self. Like, he knows the good, the bad, and the ugly, and to be accepted, flaws and all. Like, that's beautiful, because even, sometimes even family isn't really interested in dealing with your stuff, but like we like legit hold it down for each other, and accept one another, can check one another, and just like keep it moving, and vibing.
That's so beautiful, and I think you guys mentioned having the example of that you can look back and our parents' generation, that was not an easy generation. They had expectations of staying together, and it wasn't an easy generation. They had to go through probably different stuff than what we had, and the fact that they stuck together, that was probably a great benefit for you, both of you, to see that, right?
Yeah.
And then you mentioned feeling accepted, so as I think what I've seen when we look at marriage and couples and even experience is that as you grow and as life changes, you actually sometimes can grow apart, right? And the fact that you guys are growing together, that's a good thing. You figure, so what tips would you have for people? Like, if you had a tip or two, you say, hey, this really helped us, like if they're going through certain stages and they're growing, what would have been like maybe a key or two for you to kind of just make sure you're focusing and growing together? I know I heard that acceptance part is very important.
Yeah. I would say, first of all, having our relationship centered in Christ, seriously, has been that's been paramount, because the things that we do, the things that we aspire to, the people that we aspire to become, are all things that we feel that we prayed about, and that God has given us, affirmation. But then also too, just through our conversations or people that we meet, those things have been, reaffirmed. And so our relationship has gone to a whole nother level, because we have committed to making God the center of our relationship and our lives and our marriage. And then in that same vein, I would say also too, like, to understand that this work, like this is work. One of the things that I don't remember, if I was told that, I guess I wasn't paying attention, that marriage is work. Because early on in our marriage, I believe even before, we had our first child, which is Bailey, and she's 15 now. I remember, being very, very upset and saying, man, like, it shouldn't be this hard. And the reality is, anything that's worth having is worth working for. And so it does, you work on a house, you work on a business, you work on, your body, you work on, what I'm saying, like other relationships. And why would we think that the most important relationship outside of our relationship with Christ, our vertical relationship, that the horizontal relationships in our lives shouldn't be equally as a challenge or needing to be labor intensive. And so understanding that really has helped, going through the growing pains. I am not the same person that I was, in my 20s, when we got married, when we met each other.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Thank God.
And I would say that. I would say that too, because, again, I mentioned confidence. I mentioned seeking approval. I'm not thinking that I was smart enough or good enough to be in certain rooms or to be, connected to certain people. And now, my connection is with the only person. All I need is God. You know what I'm saying? And He has opened doors and continue to open doors, and to even allow me to be able to communicate to her in a way that she needs to hear. You know what I'm saying? Because we can get all the tips and we can read all the books, but if I'm not able to communicate to her, on the level that she needs, and vice versa, then nothing is going to be able to manifest, and nothing's going to be able to, come to pass. So yeah, I would definitely say, committing to making, Christ the center of our lives, and then committing to do the work.
Yeah.
I think I would echo the work piece, because I think one of the things that's pretty difficult for people to conceptualize is how much work is involved in marriage. Because I know I came with this like Disney version of marriage. That was my Prince Charming, and I was going to be swept off my feet, and we were going to be best friends, and it was just going to be rainbows and sunshine. Even though relationships are hard, but not like I remember those first few years. I was like, this is ridiculous. Like, if I gotta do all this, I can do it alone. But I think what was so centering for me, and I think is so critical, is like we actually have a friendship. Like, I genuinely like who this man is.
Yeah.
Like, I like his character, what he stands for, his integrity, the things that make someone, the essence of who they are, the things, his values and principles. So, because love, contrary to the popular saying, love is not enough. It takes way more than love to sustain any relationship, but especially a marriage. And so that means that we have to be intentional about spending time together, like quality time. And so, when you do it God's way, it's God, then your spouse. And so I had to get in order. So that meant kids. Now, when they're babies, it's a little bit tough. But once, that baby stage is over, like, we had to get back to dating. And we're not the best at date night, but we take trips together, and we don't take those jokers. Wow. Like, they got to stay at home. And so, that's time that we spend pouring into each other. And like, it might be late at night, but we're, watching a movie on Netflix or Peacock or something. So we make that time. We work out not every morning together, but there are many mornings that we spend together working out. So it's just being intentional about that time, and having a realistic expectation of what marriage is, because marriage does go through seasons, and it's not always going to be beautiful and easy. Sometimes it stinks and it's hard and it's ugly and it's gritty. But one of the best analogies I heard was, if the light bulb goes out in your house, you get a new house? No, you change the light bulb. But you might have to get your ladder because it might be inconvenient. You got to go buy the bulb. But like, that's what we do. We're not going to get rid of each other because it got a little rough. But it does take time to get there, because I did want to get a new house at one point. I was like,
listen to Stanley though.
Yeah. But then the other piece, I think, that also just doesn't get really, I think, emphasized, is how important healthy communication is. And all of us know how to talk, but like, to talk in a language and a tone that your spouse is receptive to. Like Kenneth said, like, to be able to communicate in a way that I can hear. And so I talk all day for a living. So it's easy for me, but the way that I talk isn't the way that he needs, because I can be very, some might say bossy, but I would just say assertive. But having to, modify my strategy or my tone a bit, and the strategy that I use to communicate, so that we are communicating effectively and well and frequently. So we can't let stuff pile up, because then, like, little messes get into big messes. And then all of a sudden it may seem like you said, you can grow apart and you can't even pinpoint what happened, because so much doo-doo has happened in the meantime. So we have to check in, good times and bad. We have to, be respectful, and like, you can't hit below the belt. So there's some rules to healthy communication to really make that work well. But that's got to be a key. To helping your marriage be successful.
Look, I mean, people are gonna have to go back and rewind and listen to those tips, because I think they were just wonderful. I mean, look, none of us are perfect, and we don't do anything perfectly, right? But all those things, you can do it above aspirational. I mean, these are things that putting, I think one of the things that I've always admired about you, Kenneth, especially the last few years or so, is the leadership part of, putting God first, and actually doing that with you and your family. I mean, and that's great. And it sounds like, I know, Leesha, you're a psychiatrist, but it sounds like, the counseling part of it, as far as the communication and not hitting below the belt, and making sure that you have time for yourself. I mean, those are all things that you have to be very active and intentional on. And so that's just beautiful. And one of the things that you guys mentioned, you mentioned the kids, and you mentioned spending time. It's so difficult. I was talking to a client today, and we were talking about, they have teenagers, and you're in that season where their life becomes your life in a way, right? Because you're running them all over the place. You're trying to take care of your career and provide. Both of you taking care of your career. You have aspirations of where you want to be.
Absolutely.
Still, I mean, we're not there yet. I mean, we still have goals and objectives, and you have, and so you got all these complexities, and you got careers, you got your parents getting older, you got you got your spouse, you got your kids, so how do you keep yourself healthy and keep your partnership healthy? I mean, I think that, so how do you guys have thought about that, and what are some of the active things that you do to balance? I heard date night was one of those things.
So I would say, I mean, like, there were a lot of unfortunate things that came out of COVID. I mean, lives were lost, businesses closing, a lot of those different things. The blessing for that I could kind of speak on is, it was kind of like that life pause where I started realizing that in my profession, as a coach, as an administrator, that I always made sure that I took care of everybody, coaches, athletes. I made sure everybody was fed, made sure everybody had, the latest shoes. We had shirts and all those types of things. Meals were planned, travel, all that type of stuff. And then when COVID, hit and you were at home, you start thinking about, man, like, making meals, going for walks, working out, at home, getting to know each other, like sitting down. And I took pictures of our kids just walking around the circle, like I always tell our son, my man, you take care of your mother, man, and you take care of your sisters, God willing, man, I'm gonna be around for years. But I need you to take care of your sisters, man, like, and take care of your mother. And, and for him on days, and our neighbors even talk about it to this day, seeing him walking around the circle with our youngest, and they just go for walks, like, it's so simple because he is a busy and very active, boy. But watching him do that, you know what I'm saying? Like, but those are the types of things that that kind of got me, really understanding, man, like, getting to know each other, spending time, and not in the hustle, like working out, even if it was that one day, reading, and doing the things that we felt like we didn't have enough time to do. And then, COVID hits, and so, committing to committing to yourself, and a lot of things came out of it. Our relationship, spending time with each other, and it didn't just stop when COVID, COVID's not gone, but when things started going back, saying to normal, we realized that man, like, the life that we have can be better appreciated and enjoyed together, with a plan. We didn't talk about it, but like, even me going back to school, man, I got my MBA through COVID. There's no way that I would have been able to get through it without God, but without her, support. So like, we're at home and everything is closed, and you want to go back to school, like, but it was like, yeah, all right, what I'm saying, let's do it. And there was some tough challenges. I mean, you know how it is, man, being back in school, but we did it together. And if we hadn't have been intentional about doing other things together and making that a priority, and even coming out of it, like, she would have been like, nah, nope, like, you're not going back to school. Like, I'm not supporting that, and so, yeah, that was, for me, that was one of the things that I kind of, like I said before, a lot of unfortunate things came out of COVID, but that was kind of a wake up call, and we continue that, working out, watching movies, talking more about our futures, like, I enjoy that probably, more than most of our conversations now is, so what's next? You know what I'm saying? Because we realize that that through that quiet time, the guy was showing us, man, like, there's so much more in store for you.
Yeah.
Like, there's so much more. And I mean, man, brother, we would need a whole nother podcast, man, to talk about, like, all the things that God has shown me, man, and is revealed to me, because it's pretty awesome. Like, I'm excited, man, about all of that stuff. But yeah, it's
I think the beauty in that is, sitting still, right? Like you're
yes.
saying, COVID had you sit still, and you got a chance to appreciate,
Mm-hmm.
all of what you're blessed with. So that's
Yeah,
great.
So I think what you really need to weather those juggling challenges is really flexibility. Um, and particularly around the expectations that you have of each other with gender roles, because I think if you're not careful, those traditional gender roles of what mom's supposed to do and dad's supposed to do can really derail things and cause unintended conflict. Because, you know, for our parents' generation, you may not have had mom working outside of the home necessarily, or not until kids were a lot older. And for our generation, most moms work outside the home. And even if they don't work full time outside the home, they still are often outside the home in some capacity. And so I often, you know, again, early on, it would be like, why do you expect me to do everything just because I'm woman or mom? Like, that's not fair. I go to work just like you do. You know, I have a hard day just like you. And so being able to relax those gender expectations, which also meant like, I might have to take my car to get serviced. I might have to pump my gas. That doesn't mean he loves me any less. He might choose to wash dishes, or he, you know, he'll start a load of laundry. It's not always me doing woman mom things or him doing only the dad things. And so that flexibility, I think, helps us juggle and reduces the risk of resenting one another because we don't feel like somebody's not holding their weight. Um, and then again, it still just goes back to, I think, communicating about, because we'll, you know, sometimes we may leave things unspoken and then it's like, okay, well, there was a lot that was left unsaid. So we need to, again, make sure that we are communicating about, you know, this is what we got going on. And I'm going to need you to do this today. I can, you know, pick up kids today, but you got to do it tomorrow or whatever. Because otherwise it just feels insurmountable. We are so super busy. Yes, our life revolves around Evan Cox and his schedule. I mean, the girls, they, you know, they suffer too, because there's a lot that we have to do. Uh, but you know, we make it work.
Yeah. Look, that's great. So, you know, at least you talk about the gender roles and having flexibility. And one of the things I know that you do and focus on is having, you know, your mom group, right? Where you know, trying to because it's particularly, I mean, I think particularly this generation of women, and you know, probably prior generation, but it's probably more now. You're having to balance, you know, career and family and those roles and expectations, and not even just expectations of the outside, their own expectations, right? Uh, can you tell us a little bit about when you're talking to your group, what are some of the things that, from a dad perspective, that we at Dads and Dollars and the people who listen can do to help be more supportive or to do the thing? I know the gender role, the flexibility is probably one, but what are other things?
And I think that's a great question, and wonderful to consider. And I think at the heart of it is to remember, both as me as a woman, but also for my husband, is that my identity does not revolve around my role as mother. Like that is not the sum total of who I am. And so that I often say, I was Leesha before these kids. I'm Leesha with these kids, and I will be Leesha once they get out my house, right? So I don't want to ever lose sight of that. And I need my husband to remember that as well. And so, you know, again, we go on trips and we don't take the kids. We have couple vacations. We have personal goals for ourselves and couple goals. Everything doesn't have to revolve around what our children need. So being able to recognize that, and help support, like, hey, I do have the kids. You go out with your girlfriends. Go to Target by yourself and have fun, or, you know, go, you know, take a girls trip or whatever, but like to give space for me to do things that are important to me and that I enjoy, because they say happy wife, happy life, but that's for real. Like if I get refreshed and get a break, I come back and I'm like, hey, babe, it makes things better because I've had some time to relax. So I think that, and then as you already highlighted again, is that you don't have to be rigid around these gender roles. So we both can take part in meal planning, that all of that doesn't follow me, so that, the husband recognizes these are the things that we need to make our household function, and being willing to pick up the slack, or just aid in all of that. Or I would say to Kenneth, like, I don't like to clean. I'm not interested in spending all my Saturday cleaning my house. So then if he doesn't want to come clean, then you hire somebody. So it doesn't have to be I have to be the one that has to clean, but we can hire somebody to do that. So that just takes some pressure off. It still gets the job done, but it doesn't, again, make me solely responsible for that.
That's great. So are you still, is your group still active and everything? You want to shout it out just in case some people are listening, and we can put it in the show notes as well.
Absolutely. And my conference will come back, and so we will have you speak, because finances for women and mamas is such a critical conversation that isn't always had in those spaces. And so, yes, to all my mamas out here, we are doing the doggone thing, raising kids, being married, holding it down, and still fly. Like go mamas. Go mamas.
Well, cool. All right, for the sake of time, just so dads and dollars, right? So we got to get a little dollar conversation in here. So you got three financial lessons that you guys have learned. One could take one, other could take two or one. It doesn't matter. 3 financial lessons that you guys have learned from being married that you didn't know before you got married, that now, if you would have, what would you share there?
In the I guess in the spirit of communication, talk about money, talk about finances, man. Have conversations about it. It is okay. Like, it might be painful, but it's necessary. Like, talk about the money. I didn't enjoy it. I didn't enjoy math when I was in school, but it is so necessary, and it will help so many things. You know what I'm saying, when you communicate about your finances.
And so I would say
communication. Yeah, I go back to that communication part, right?
Absolutely. And along those lines, having a plan for your money, because once you get married and you're combining incomes, and if you're talking about money, it needs to include, like, what do we want to do with this money? What are we thinking about, both in terms of short term, midterm, and long term, and how we allocate our dollars? And particularly around, especially with kids, being able to talk about and plan for legacy. Like, what is it that we want to leave our children, both in terms of financially, with like tangible dollars, but also like the financial knowledge? Because my parents didn't talk to me a lot about money, and I don't want that to be the same experience for our children. And so I think that's the plan that we have for our money, and making sure that our children are aware to how to think about money, so it isn't just when they leave our house and they don't know anything. They're getting credit cards. Like, remember in college, that was one of the first things you could do. They were like, hey, come get this credit
card and a t-shirt.
And you can get in trouble quickly. But right. We want, we together want to make sure that our children are prepared for those next steps.
Yeah.
And then cash is king, Stanley. Cash is king.
Cash is king. Yes. Look, that was one of the early episodes that I had in here. Cash is king. So look, I'll always go back to that.
Right.
So
we got that from you.
It is king. It's in the book too.
That's right.
And it'll be in the speech as well. So, but look, I totally appreciate you guys joining us on Dads and Dollars. It's been a blast. You have dropped so many nuggets.
I appreciate it.
And you know, just from my perspective, my prayers are for you guys, for, you know, that you continue to grow your family, continue to prosper. You guys are doing such wonderful things. So thank you for joining Dads and Dollars.
Hey, Santa, I have one other thing, man, I want to share, you know, with the with the brothers, man, the dads. When you were asking her about you know, from her perspective, from my mom's perspective, and this is what I would say in line with that from a dad's perspective, and especially someone who obviously is married. And I would say this, man, like what I enjoy, I'm listening to her, listening to you ask questions, is you know, I enjoy, you know, being her husband. I enjoy being her supporter. You know, when she has these conferences, when she travels, and it's not just the travel, like, I mean, that's cool, but like watching her on stage, man, do her thing, talking, empowering, loving on other mothers the way they need to be loved, talking passionately about, you know, the process of being a mom and having her brand, that gives me joy, you know, and that's one of the things that that I truly, you know, like it's one of the highlights, man, of being a part of this marriage and this relationship, and for no other reason other than seeing her be able to pursue the things that God has placed in her heart. So I want to say that too, man, because I think that as dads and as, you know, those that's important too. I mean, you know, we all need somebody that can champion us. But when you have someone that you are committed to for life, and y'all are doing life, as our bishop would say, doing life together, to be able to enjoy seeing them like just soar, thrive, and do it in an incredible way. It is such a blessing, and it feeds my soul as well, because I know, you know what I'm saying, like that's my wife, you know what I'm saying, like that's my ride or die, man. And then so like when I'm on stage or when I've got something going on, I mean, she's right there with me. You know, if I have any, you know, she's like, babe, you can do this. You know, as a matter of fact, like you did it better than everybody else, you know? And so anyway, man, I'm sorry, I kind of went off script, but
No, man.
It was on my heart, and I feel passionate about it, man.
That's totally a total drop the mic moment, because, you know, we talked about teamwork makes the dream work, and you know, and that is so true. And I think I've told you guys many years that my best clients, and when I say best in the sense of financially successful and hitting their marks and hitting their goals, are the best teams. They come in and they have joy to work together. They have joy to support each other. They know each other's lane. Like, hey, this is my lane, this is your lane, and they don't care. They don't feel any deficiency being in different lanes, and they know each other's lanes, and they work together. And they get that same joy that you have right now, and that you both have for supporting each other. And thank you guys for supporting Dads and Dollars. Thank you so much. And you know, so we'll sign off here. So thank you all for joining us for this episode of Dads and Dollars. Again, you can rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. We don't want anything less than 5 stars. And we'll see y'all next time on Dads and Dollars.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Dads and Dollars. If you found the information shared today valuable, please share with your friends and family via your social media. If you have a request for a future financial topic for Dads and Dollars, please email us at ask@dadsanddollars.com. For further information on your financial journey, you may purchase The Quest for Financial Independence, 10 areas of your financial planning you should not ignore, by visiting our website, dadsanddollars.com. The opinions voiced in this podcast are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which strategies or investments may be suitable for you, consult the appropriate qualified professional prior to making a decision. Individual tax and legal matters should be discussed with your tax or legal professional. Economic forecasts set forth may not develop as predicted, and there can be no guarantee that strategies promoted will be successful. All performance reference is historical and is no guarantee of future results. All indices are unmanaged and may not be invested into directly. Traditional IRA account owners have considerations to make before performing a Roth IRA conversion. These primarily include income tax consequences on the converted amount in the year of conversion, withdrawal limitations from a Roth IRA, and income limitations for future contributions to a Roth IRA. In addition, if you are required to make a required minimum distribution, RMD, in the year you convert, you must do so before converting to a Roth IRA. Asset allocation does not ensure a profit or protect against a loss. There is no assurance that the techniques and strategies discussed are suitable for all investors or will yield positive outcomes. The purchase of certain securities may be required to affect some of these strategies. Investing involves risk, including possible loss of principal. Guests and their companies are not affiliated with or endorsed by LPL Financial or Intellis Advisory Group. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA, SIPC. Advisory services offered through Intellis Advisory Group, a registered investment advisor. Intellis Advisory Group and Intellis Wealth Management are separate entities from LPL Financial.